This is gonna be weird. Oh man, this is so dark in here. What the heck? Wonder if I can reset the brightness. Hold on, I'm gonna try to reset the brightness. Be patient. Because I have it bright as heck in here. I get it any brighter, I wouldn't even be able to see. I'm looking at you like this. There it is. Ay caramba. I'm trying. I can't make it any brighter. That's crazy. Man, I'm sorry. How do I make it brighter? Hey, how's everybody doing? So we're going to talk about the 3 Ds of health tonight. And I am literally trying to get my camera brighter. Man, it is so dark. This is crazy. And it's a new camera. So there we go. That help any? Let's see. Yeah, that helped a lot. All right, so there we go. That's a little better. I'm sorry. I should have had all that planned ahead of time, but I didn't. So, so it's going to be a little different for me because I have a camera here, but my computer's over here. So it's going to, if you see me look away, it's because I'm looking for comments. And the way I have it set up tonight, um, comments should be saved. So that way, if you go back and watch this later, it's going to show up if you follow me. Um, then you'll be able to see the comments in case anybody asks any questions. However, I want to be sure that if you're going to watch tonight or if you're going to stick around or whatever, all 2 of you, um, try to keep your comments based on the topic at hand. So I'm going to be talking about my program called the 3 Ds of Health. And I'm not going to be answering any topics that are going to be off topic because you guys already know I get easily distracted. And can everybody hear me okay? I don't know what the microphone sounds like. I bought this new camera specifically so I could do the workshops. I wonder if this helps. I cleared up the picture. Yeah. So it's supposed to be a better camera. Talk about my new product tonight. I got a new product listed, and maybe if you guys want, I can pull up the video to show you. Though anecdotally, it's not very good evidence. I mean, it's not like real good scientific evidence. It's real anecdotal, but I'm gonna close some of these tabs so we don't end up slowing everything down. Everybody doing good this weekend? All 3 of you? You guys doing good this weekend? I was actually on time. That's the one thing I'm going to do. How I'm going to start doing these. I was actually on time. With YouTube, I will be on time unless some unforeseen whatever happens. And I will post on Saturday what the live stream is going to be about, and I'll schedule it so you have an opportunity. You can actually hit the notification bell to let you know when I actually go live. But it'll be scheduled. I'm gonna try to schedule it on a Saturday. That way, on Sunday when we roll around and we start the live, you can already be waiting. And with YouTube, if people are already going to be waiting, it kind of makes more sense for me to be on time. So that'll be a good thing too. If I know people are waiting, sometimes I wait a little late. I'm drinking water tonight. I want to make sure to stay hydrated. Very important. And I may end up setting up some moderators tonight if some of our usual people don't come in. That way, when we get people in that want to be disruptive or whatever, if the usual moderators aren't here, you can step in and mute them and Don't kick them out of the live. Just make sure they can't talk. Not that it's not about, trying to curb people's speeches, but if they're not talking about the topic that I'm talking about, it doesn't make any sense to have them continue on, to be fair. So, not fair to everybody else who took the time to sit and watch it anyway. So, so how many of you three have heard of my system? Teresa, I'm pretty sure you have. The 3Ds of health. Has anybody heard about that? The three basic things that you need to do. I just did a video on it yesterday. I got to stop doing videos on Saturdays apparently, but there's a growing number of doctors that are kind of coming to the conclusion that if you can fix these three basic things, and if you do them in the right way, um, your your health journey should go a lot smoother. Because your body's kind of like a machine, right? I've always said that. And if you don't feed it right, and if you don't, do all the right maintenance, then it's going to crash. It's just basic common sense. You can't sit on your couch all the time with your phone in your hand and eating chips and expect that your body is going to function properly. I mean, there's no common sense in that, right? I mean, anybody that looks at that logically. So about 3 years ago, I came up. I don't know that it's a system. I mean, I could probably develop it into some sort of system, but I'd feel kind of stupid selling it, right? I mean, other than if I were to specialize it, which I can do that, but um, it's three things. I'm sorry, it's detox, digestion, and diet, and pretty much you want to do it in that order. And there's some people that say, well, I could start on my diet right now, but if you haven't properly detoxed and if your digestion isn't working properly, there isn't any sense in spending money on a whole new diet because you haven't taken care of the first two steps, right? The diet, I mean, obviously you'd want to cut out all the crap, right? But you don't need to change to special stuff right away because you're trying to get all your stuff unclogged and working properly. so so if you can fix those three things in roughly that order, I mean, you can probably work on your digestion at the same time you're doing a detox. Um, but if you can fix those things, but you got to look at how to do the detox properly. There's some ways you have to look at it from both a common sense viewpoint and from a scientific viewpoint. When you look at detoxing, it doesn't mean just pulling crap out of your body. It doesn't mean just trying to clean things up a bit. You have to get everything out, right? So you're gonna have parasites, you're gonna have all the heavy metals and all the other crap that's in the environment, and then you have your body filters, right? All the stuff that's supposed to be doing this filtration stuff, so you don't have to detox. But you have to get them working, right? And if you don't get all of that done, you're defeating the purpose of going to the next couple steps, right? They say that depending on who you listen to, just a few years ago, the world, and this is a terrible source, but it's the only source I have, and they're the only ones that publish this kind of data. But the World Health Organization, hey, how you doing, Mitchell? The World Health Organization, sorry, it's kind of, I hate that thing. Um, they stated that roughly 80% of the world's population has a parasite of some sort, whether it was bloodborne in your gut, whatever. And then they've kind of revised that, and they've dropped it down to 60%, but that's still 3 out of 5 people, right? So that worldwide. And that includes here in the United States. We have kind of a quiet epidemic of parasites. And hey, Cindy, how are you? Um, oh yeah. Before I get any further with that, let me let me give a quick update on the workshop, the herbal medicine workshop. That's going to be starting February probably 18th and Tuesday, February 18th. And it may not be live. I may end up just having to post them. The reason why is in order to use the program that I'm going to use, well, it's another website that hosts lives and things like that, is I need to come up with $300 because they expect a year subscription in advance. And unfortunately, it's $25 a month, which I could afford. I could swing that, but not all at once. Um, so when it comes to the workshop, I may not be able to. We'll see. We'll see if I can come up with the $300. I don't have enough patrons to come up with $300, right? I make like $144 on Patreon. So that's not $300. That's like 2 months and some change of subscriptions to be able to afford that. But I do want to get the herbal course out and going and live, and I kind of don't really want I don't really want to go into debt to do it. But if I do it, that means that there's going to be 2 months that I won't be doing any special projects either, right? Because I use my Patreon money to fund my videos. So all you guys who watch my videos and watch my content, you need to be thanking my patrons like Mitchell and Cindy. They're, they're patrons, right? They pay me money to do this kind of stuff. So they're the ones that are actually funding, all these how-to videos and things like that. So, I thank them. I am very grateful for them, and you guys should probably be thanking them too, because if they weren't giving me that money, I wouldn't be doing the kinds of videos that I do. Um, so I was actually thinking about doing a strawberry vinegar video. If anybody'd be interested in seeing strawberry vinegar, so I got to thinking, if you can make apple cider vinegar, I don't know why you couldn't make it out of strawberries too. So, so that's the big update for the workshop. It is going to, at the very least, the first section of the herbal medicine workshop will drop Tuesday the 18th. But I'm going to try to do everything I can to come up with that $300. It's just, man, I wish I wouldn't do stuff like that, because they say it's monthly, right? But you have to, but it's billed yearly. So why don't they just say, you know, I don't know. Anyway, so that, yeah, I did the quick math on that. I have their paid version, because they have a free version. I have the paid version, but I need to pay for the next level in order to be able to do lives. And the downside to it is, even though I have a bunch of patrons, I don't know how many of them are actually going to show up for it, right? And do I want to shell out $300 for two people to show up? There's that too. I have to kind of think about it economically. If only two people are going to be there, is it logical to pop out that $300? I don't know. What do you guys think? Be interesting to know what you guys think. I mean, I do have to kind of look at it um, from an economic viewpoint. I can't put myself into bankruptcy to do videos that I don't get paid for. It doesn't seem very logical. It comes out to a very expensive hobby. Excuse me. So this is the camera that I bought specifically to do the workshop for, and at the very least, I'll make a recording, and it'll be paper too, so that way you'll have, well, not paper, but it'll be in a Word and a PDF format, so you can have the paperwork for it too. But yeah, we'll see. I'm going to try my hardest. That gives me almost 2 weeks, so pretty sure I can swing it. It depends if business picks up. Speaking of business, my new product there, arthritis and joint capsules. There we go. I made these. I started this particular blend. Well, I've actually tinkered with the blend, but I started that about 8 years ago when my best friend's dog. It sounds bad. When my best friend's dog, he had one of those 120-pound Rottweilers, and she ended up with hip dysplasia. I found the videos today. He sent me videos of her. He had to build her like a little contraption for her back legs because she couldn't even move her back legs. Like she just lay there and she was in rough shape. So he'd have to make her this contraption. And he's like, hey, Trace, is there something you can do? Of course. So I whipped together that recipe, and within like a week or two, she was up on her feet. I have the difference. I have the videos of her in the contraption, and then 2 weeks later in her backyard where she was running around. I mean, granted, she was still kind of stiff because she hadn't used her muscles in so long, but she was running around like a puppy. So I started using them, and then one of our customers wanted to know if we'd sell them to them, so we did, and then they became regular. So then we just started selling them, and so that's my recipe that I come up with, and it works really well. It's all natural, but I don't want to pet you right now. I don't want to do that tonight. Nobody wants to see you. They're not here to see you. Don't you look at me like that either. Morpheus is here, trying very desperately to get some attention. So, okay, I was trying to check the Zoom. I'm not going to pet you. Sorry, he's a distraction. He's a big spoiled baby. And he knows that I'm going to be sitting here for at least an hour. So he's kind of got me cornered in this corner. He knows I can't get away. And he can come here and get attention without necessarily being in the way. All right, so let's get back on topic. So there's three things: diet, detox, digestion, and diet. And you got to fix them in specific ways. So when it comes to your detox, right? It's I've had people ask me, can you do all three at the same time? And not really. I thought so initially. I thought, yeah, sure, that wouldn't be a bad idea. Then I got to thinking about the herbs that are used for each one, and or the plants that are used for each one. And it's like, no, I don't think that's going to work because the the herbs could overlap. You know, some of the recipes that I use, like my heavy metal cleanse, the recipe is kind of similar, or it has some of the same herbs that are in my detox, right? And they do kind of different things. And then I have my parasite purge potion that my followers named. Um, and that one has some herbs in it that kind of go then that kind of go across the other two. Then you run the risk of having too many of one herb or too much of one herb, right? So in this particular instance, you either do the heavy metal first and then the parasite, or you do, I don't care, it doesn't really matter at that point. Whatever concerns you the most. And then you would go to your body detox. And now for the parasite, there's a couple different ways to approach a parasite purge, right? If you're trying to get rid of parasites out of your body, you have a couple different options. What kind of parasite are you worried about, right? Because we have the ones that are in our digestive systems, and then we have the ones that are in our bloodstream. And you're gonna kind of have to approach it a bit differently, at least as far as what I'm thinking when it comes to that. Okay, so if you got them in your gut, that's where a tea would be more effective, right? You'd make yourself a tea out of the blend of herbs that you're using. You don't want to use a single herb because they're all going to do one thing in the removal of the parasite, right? And you kind of want to do a whole bunch of things all at once to get the parasite out of there. So you want to use something like papaya seed, which is known to it actually is like a anti-parasitic, right? It unalives the parasites. Wormwood and black walnut, both of which are known to have a detrimental effect on parasites. You have Oregon grape or golden seal or barberry. They're really loaded with berberine. The berberine in that is very anti-parasitic. And then you would use something like a pumpkin seed, and pumpkin seed is known to paralyze the parasites, right? So you kind of want to do something that's going to act like an anti-parasitic, right? That's going to kill it off, and then you're going to want to use the one that's going to paralyze them. You don't really want to move it around, right? You don't want them trying to get away from it. And then the other ones have a direct impact. They're like a pesticide for parasites, really. In essence, is how they're going to act. The chemicals in it, the thujone, the different compounds that are found in each of those herbs, the berberine, they're going to have a direct impact on the parasites. But you can't just use one, right? Because even the papaya is only like 70% effective, right? It's only going to remove like 70%. So you're going to need the other ones to help, because those other ones are only going to remove a small percentage of each. Hey, everybody. Yes, I'm here on YouTube every night or every Sunday. So, you know, everybody was kind of worried about TikTok, and I'm trying to build an audience here. It's kind of hard. It's really hard to build an audience here, but I'll do what I can. I'll probably do some exclusive content just for YouTube and Patreon, so that way I can draw more people over to both of them. Um, for you $3 members, that is one of the things I'm planning. If I do decide to go ahead and get that program, what I'll do is for $3 members, we'll do like a live once every other week or something, or for paid members, something. Maybe one night we'll do paid members, one night we'll do $3 members, and we'll talk about different things. That way it gives you guys an opportunity to have more of a one-on-one type of conversation with me. It's kind of hard to answer with all the comments and stuff. I don't have time to keep up on all that. I really try, but I can't. Um, okay, let's get back on topic again. When it comes to the parasites, once you've gotten them done, then you'd want to start with your heavy metals, or the other way. And you you can't think about like binders, right? There's going to be a lot of people that are going to talk about you need binders, you need binders, you need binders, and binders are important, but it depends on your binder. So with the parasites, you could use a binder like activated charcoal, but if you use the right herbs, the compounds in those herbs are going to act as binders too. But if they're in your blood, all the activated charcoal in the world isn't going to do you any good. It's not going to do anything. So that's at that point, that's where you're going to need your uh, your binders that'll kind of bind to them on more of a molecular level and kind of push them out through your digest or through your your detox system or the detox part of your body. Um, After you've done that and you switch up to your heavy metal cleanse, that one's going to be a bit different, because the binders are in that, and you don't want to use that when it's a tea. So when it comes to, go back to the bloodborne. So with the bloodborne parasites, you're going to want to use an alcohol-based extract with those, right? Because they're in your blood. If you drink them, your digestive system is going to interfere with some of those compounds that you're drinking in tea, if you just drink it in tea. So if you take it in extract form, which is a liquid extract, typically it's an alcohol based, then you'd put it under your tongue, and you would get the absorption through your lip into your bloodstream, and then that would have a more direct impact on the parasites. A tea, is it going to be effective? Yeah, some of the compounds will get through, right? I mean, some of those things are going to get leached out and taken into your bloodstream, but not all of them. But if you take it in an extract form, you're going to get 80 to 90% of those compounds, which is what you need. Those compounds will actively bind to the parasites as well. Typically speaking, bloodborne parasites are microscopic. So, if you're eating activated charcoal, it's only going to be in your digestive system. It's not going to get to your bloodstream to bind. But the other compounds will, and they'll run them through the various parts of your body. So they're going to run through your kidneys, your liver, they'll come out through your sweat glands, your urine, your other places. Um, and that's a way that your body's going to be able to eliminate them. Now, when it goes to your heavy metal cleanse, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to use herbs that are inherently binders, right? The herbs themselves are the binders: spirulina, cilantro, dandelion. All of those have chaparral leaf. All of those have binding properties, and they bind to heavy metal toxins specifically. Like the science has shown that they bind specifically. I do have a heavy metal detox blend, and it is an extract form only. I don't believe I don't think I sell that in tea form, but and I don't know if I have any in stock right now. I think I'm out of spirulina, but you take that, and that is gonna the compounds that you get directly from that, and of course you take it in extract form. It's gonna go straight to your bloodstream. It's gonna adhere. The way, if you formulate it right, you can't just use one herb. Spirulina is good, but you have to add the other herbs too, because they're going to get the toxins out in different ways. So like the spirulina is going to act like, if the toxins, the heavy metal buildup or whatever it does fluoride, it does cadmium, all mercury, lead, all those ones that cause real problems, right? Choline. Um, it adheres to them. So if those are embedded in your organs, if they're embedded in your tissues, the compounds from the spirulina will actually get into where they're at and bind to them, right? And it kind of quit and pushes them out. And then the other compounds that you're using, the stuff from the dandelion, the stuff from the cilantro or the basil, these are going to bind in a different way, and they're going to get them to the appropriate spot and then flush them out. They're not going to just shuffle it around to a different part of your body. They actually bind to them, and then the body just kind of flushes them out through the excess. Um, then you go to your detox, right? Because it doesn't make a lot of sense to do the first two if you don't leave the rest of your body functioning at its optimal levels. And what I mean by the rest of your body, I mean your defensive part, the part that causes all the filtration. So your kidneys, your liver, your appendix. It's been discovered is now actually is a filtration. It filters out toxins, which is why it's one of the first things to go, and they do everything they can to not remove them now, right? Unless it's actually burst, and it's kind of a lost cause. But even if it's burst, oftentimes they'll leave it in until the infection goes away and then remove it, because it causes more problems to expose the infection to the air. Um, so there's different herbs that will boost all of those functions: milk thistle, kudzu, dandelion, burdock. All of those work to get all of the cleavers herb. They get all those functions of the filtration system of the body going. And because your lymphatic system is an important filtration. It's like in your arms and here, in down by your groin area. Where sometimes you might feel a bump. That's your lymph node that is filled up with gunk, body gunk, right? And it can't really get rid of it. So you need to make sure that they're all flowing right. So you do your parasite, you do your heavy metal, doesn't matter which order you do that in. Then you do your detox, right? And that's getting the rest of your body going. It's primed. Now it's ready for the next step, which is digestion. And this is, to be fair, I'd have to say that the digestive system is probably the most important aspect of this, really, because It plays a vital role in a lot of stuff. If you think about it logically, trying to read the comments. Uh, the digestive system is responsible for 70% of your immune system, right? 70% of your immune system comes out of your gut. Your digestive system is responsible for properly breaking down and absorbing the food that you eat. If your digestive system isn't functioning properly, the stuff that you eat just kind of just passes through. Then that's possibly why some people never actually feel full, because other than high fructose corn syrup, um, because they're not really getting anything out of their food. Their digestive system shot, right? I'd have to say probably 70% of the population here in the United States has a compromised immune system. And it's just a guess. I could probably look up those statistics, and at most that would be a guess. But if you think about how can an immune system be destroyed, right? Autoimmune disease is a hyperactive immune system. Okay. Um, Roughly 60% of the U.S. population, at least the U.S. adult population, has been on some sort of antibiotic in the last year. The Z-Pack, that can disrupt your digestive system for 5 years. 5 years of going without an immune system, right? 70% of your immune system's gone. So those people that end up with those probably tend to get sick fairly easily after a Z-Pack. I've never had a Z-Pack, but I can only imagine. So you really got to fix your digestive system. If you're not properly getting your nutrients in, if your immune system shot, it's kind of a lost cause, right? So now you've got all the toxins out. It only makes sense to work on your digestive system. So you're gonna have to cut out all the crap, right? No processed foods, none. Like get rid of them. Period. You're gonna avoid fast foods, because right now you're trying to fix yourself, right? So you're going to make some sacrifices. It means you're going to make some lifestyle changes. You don't get to go eat the Big Mac and drink the Diet Coke and expect to have a different result, right? That's what got you here, for the most part. So you're gonna have to start eating more leafy greens and more vegetables and more fresh fruit. And these are going to help. These are called prebiotics. Okay, so your body's they're gonna break down into simple starches and simple, more simple material for the body to make into probiotics. Right? There's a difference. The prebiotics are what get made into probiotics later in the body sometimes, um, depending on the prebiotic. You want to eat more fiber because you need to get everything moving, right? And fiber is going to help keep everything moving. If you don't go to the bathroom at least once a day, there's something wrong with your body. For real. That should be a daily thing, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, depending on your body and how much you eat and when you eat and all that. But if you're not going at least once a day, you might want to consider looking at your digestive system. I'm not a doctor, I'm not making any suggestions or recommendations. I'm just saying maybe do a little research on that. That can cause real problems. That's how you get your diverticulosis and your Crohn's and your IBS, because that bacteria is going to back up because the stuff that's it's just sitting there, right, rotting in your gut. Eventually, it's going to cause problems, right? Common sense dictates you got to get it out of there. So um, at that point, you may have to take more drastic steps to get that part of your digestive system, because that is also part of your digestive system, to get that part going. So you may have to take, actual probiotics, and then so that's going to be your Greek yogurt that's unprocessed, apple cider vinegar with a mother, um, kombucha, sauerkraut, any fermented foods. One of the videos I'm going to be doing this week is, does anybody like pickled beets? Anybody like pickled beets? This kind of ties into digestion, so it'll just be a small tangent, I promise. I'm the ultimate recycler. When friends come over and they bring their fast food cups, I make them give them to me if they're plastic, and I reuse them. That's what I'm going to do. We're going to do fermented beets this week. So I like pickled beets, right? And I think I did that video a few years ago, but how to make pickled beets, and um, they're better than any. I won't eat the canned stuff anymore. The stuff you get in the store is gross. But if you like pickled beets, you'll love this recipe. They're really easy to make. Only 2 ingredients, maybe three, depending on what you have. Um, that was part of what I used the Patreon funds for. So for those of you guys who did not pay the Patreon funds, go ahead and thank them now, because they're the ones that paid for you guys to be able to see this video. How can we clear pathways? Never had pickled beets. So Sarah says, how can we clear pathways? I'm going to assume as far as like the detox goes, if you do the heavy metal detox, if you do the parasite purge detox, the parasite cleanse, and then you do the full body detox, like I suggested, those three detoxes should take you about 3 weeks to finish, right? Um, you've cleared the pathways, right? Your pathways are now cleared. Everything's working. When it comes to the other stuff, like all the way through for your digestive system, you start eating the fermented foods, that'll help tremendously, right? You start eating a lot of fiber. That's also going to help tremendously, right? The body processes fiber fairly easily, helps move things along. If your stuff is dry a lot, you need to drink more water because your body's going to give you enough water to do it right. And if you're doing things that look like rabbit or deer, um, you got a real problem. You're not drinking enough water. And if you are drinking a lot of water, you got to make sure it's alkalized, right? Because otherwise, you're not hydrating at that point. You're just passing water through your bladder. Um, got to make sure it's properly alkalized. That's pretty simple to do. You can get some sea salt, like a pinch of sea salt in your water. Just a pinch. You just need enough to get some alkalinity out of your water, and it's going to be more bioavailable. Um, that way, you're not drinking salt water. If it's just a pinch, if you do something like 32 ounces like this, and then you just put a pinch in it, uh, that when you drink that water, it's actually going to get into your cells versus just going to your bladder. Does that make sense? So if you're still having a problem going after that, then there's other options like aloe vera juice seems to be pretty effective at getting things going. There's other things that you can use, other herbs, but aloe is typically my go-to for that. And tastes like crap. It's awful. I don't like it. But um, but yeah, if your stuff is dry when you're going to the bathroom, you're not getting enough water. And if you're drinking a lot of water and it's still dry, you're not properly absorbing your water. So I'm just saying. I'm not a doctor. I play one on TikTok, but um, but yeah. So you get your fermented foods, right? And this is probably gonna now you can kind of do your digestion and your diet fairly closely together, right? You can start your digestion about a weekend or you start your digestion and about a week into your digestion, fixing that setup, then you'd want to like start your diet. And that depends, and your diet's going to depend on who you are, right? And I like to say that every body is different. Not everybody's the same. Every body, like each of our individual bodies, are all different, and they're all going to have different things that affect us. We're all going to have different genetics, right? Things are going to be different. So you can't take the exact same approach for every person. There's no like cookie cutter approach to any of this. And, when it comes to your diet, it's going to be the same thing. Some people can do carnivore. Some people can do paleo diet. Some people are good with the Atkins diet. Some people just eat food, they do the meat and potatoes, and it's okay for them. It just depends on what their body can handle. You see all these doctors on here, oh, no, you can't do this and you got to not eat that. It depends on the body, to be fair. And the body's going to do what the body does. Realistically speaking, if you think about it logically, probably the best diet you could eat is a paleo diet. So that's going to be meat, nuts, eggs, fruit, vegetables, coffee, tea, water. That's about it. No candy, no sugar, no starches of any kind, no rice, none of that stuff. You're just eating meat, eggs, fish. Very simple diet, what you'd catch if you were out hunter gathering, right? It'd be the same type of diet. I I I would like that diet, but I like sugar so much. So I'll make cakes and cookies and stuff. I'd probably be able to get rid of my little bit of spare tire if I quit eating all that damn cake. But I like cake, so especially when you make it homemade. And yes, that cake was delicious that I made last week. It was amazing because I made buttercream frosting for it. So, but I didn't make anything tonight. So I'm not taking anything sweet tomorrow except for strawberries, kiwi, and apples. So we'll see how that goes. I'll probably get Johnson for sugar, which means that, typically speaking, if you're craving sugar, it means you need protein, like more protein. So maybe I need to figure out a way to make some different snacks or something um, that are more protein based, like jerky and things like that. Homemade jerky is not bad. Anybody want to see a video on how to make homemade jerky? It's really easy. Takes more than 2 ingredients, though. And of course, that kind of throws out the whole sugar thing. But How can we creep out the? Well, here's what you can do. If you like beets, Sarah said she'd never had pickled beets. So if you like beets, um, go buy some pickled beets and try them because they're really good. To be fair, I used to really love the store bought pickled beets. That was before I introduced myself. I introduced myself to the fermented ones. But you go try those and you'll be like, wow, these things are freaking amazing. If you like, I said freaking by the way. If you like beets, and then you'll make fermented, and then you'll never go back to the canned. But you can do the canned first. That'll give you a good idea of what they're going to taste like as they're sitting in your fermenting jar waiting for the 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. So okay, so I guess we'll be doing some homemade jerky. Also going to do um, healthy treats for the dog. Because you can mix your medicine in your dog treats if your dog's that kind of dog that doesn't like to take pills or anything. This one, he don't care. Just wipe it in some peanut butter. He's good. So giving him medicine is not a problem. But if you put it in, like, if you make your own cookies and put the medicine in the cookies, you can just give your dog cookies and they'll never know the difference. It'll get a nice healthy treat, but you're doing, getting rid of parasites or helping their kidneys. I'm thinking about maybe putting, he's getting a little old, so I'm thinking about putting some arthritis and joint capsules. Um, make a batch out of that. The downside to it is there's cayenne in it, just a bit, just a touch, just enough to make everything more bioavailable. And of course, cayenne's a good pain reliever. So, if you guys want to know what the ingredients are? I'll tell you what the ingredients are. It's very, very simple. And you hear the ingredients, you're like, how does that even work for arthritis? But it really does. Anybody want to know the ingredients? I'll give you the ingredients. I don't have a problem with that. I am having to get my dog's meds compounded. Oh, that's unfortunate. You guys can write all these down, and then you can have a free recipe, or you can just go over to the listing and look. It's on the back. All right. So the ingredients are like this: or turmeric, MSM, which is methylsulfonylmethane. It's really good for like tendons and joints and pain and inflammation. There's fenugreek, which is great for arthritis. It's great for inflammation. You have goji berry, bee pollen, black pepper, and cayenne, and vegetarian capsules. But and you only need one a day. Each capsule is 541 milligrams, so they're pretty dense and heavy for capsules. And one or two a day, depending on what you're using it for. So no more than that. I wouldn't. That's almost 1100 milligrams. So, but yeah, they're pretty effective. Well, I did. Cindy said it'd be nice to have the meds and treats. You can go back to that video that I did on how to make your dog treats and spread the medicine in the treats. But there's no guarantee that it's going to be equally spread. Even if you grind it down to a fine powder. But I mean, I'm not making any recommendations. But then you bake the cookies and just give them the cookie. Of course, if your dog is picky and smells the cookie and goes, "Nah, I don't want to." This guy here, he eats almost everything. He eats fruit, vegetables, meat. He gets all the same food I do. So I make chili. He gets chili. So he eats pretty well for an old man. Well, then you grind him down into the finest powder you can. I think you probably saw that video, and you could you could substitute the other ingredients. I think that one I put like spirulina and goji berry in it, and that's how I made it. And he gobbled them down. But you can put whatever you want in it and make it like a vitamin type of treat, and then put the medicine in it too. So you'll be giving them vitamins and medicine at the same time. But I'm not recommending that. I'm just saying if you were going to do that, that would be the safest way to go about it. And to put them in a powder, mortar and pestle, that kind of thing. I thought about doing a video about a mortar and pestle too. I don't know how many people have ever seen one being used. What do you guys think? Should we do a video on how to do a mortar and pestle? Anybody even seen a mortar and pestle? Has anybody not seen one? What they are? I mean, there's 11 people here. Holy crap! Hi guys. Has anybody seen a mortar and pestle? If you haven't seen it, it's okay. Say something. That way, other people who may not have seen what it is, they may think it's some sort of brick tool. Tell you what, it is a pain in the butt. So it looks like everybody here has already seen one. Uh-oh, Bridget, you haven't seen one? Do you want to see one? Do you want to see what one looks like? Can you do beets, not? Can you do beets, not, and honey? I don't know what that means. Okay, Moose, I'm going to step over you. Hang on a second. I'm going to go grab the mortar and pestle. I know exactly where it's at. Yeah, you got to move. Can't corner me. Go. Dude, you're killing me. You're lucky I like you. No, just go. You're going to mess up my lantern, something. Sorry. I had to clear the obstacle course. This is a mortar and pestle. These are typically made out of ceramic. It's just a really heavy, thick bowl and another ceramic rod. These are going to be kind of rough, right? This part of it is. So roughly from here up, it's kind of rough. And the inside of the pestle is kind of rough as well. Mortar. Mortar and pestle, I think. I'm pretty sure that's how that goes. I usually get them confused. You probably could do, but I wouldn't put them if you're trying to ferment it. Um, so the concept of it is you would take the herbs and you'd pour them in here, right? Especially if you're doing like a blend, and you put them in whole, well, not like as a powder, and then you grind them. It is tedious. It takes a long time. They sell these in various sizes. They have some that are like real massive. Oh, hi there, Pepper. They have some that are real massive and big, but I have one, and I have used it. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you can kind of tell. Let's see. You can kind of tell. You can see because no matter how well you try to clean it, at some point some stuff's going to stay in there. You can't use soap on it. You don't because the soap will stick inside the pores. Um, I don't use it a lot because it's a really tedious way to do it. But sometimes I'll do it just to show people how to go about doing it. I don't have any herbs that I need ground up right now, but this is going to work well for like your roots and your leaves, and but you're gonna have to cut them like into smaller pieces, and then you just you take it, you put the herb in, and you twist and twist and twist and twist and shuffle it around and twist and twist. It takes forever. That's how you use them, and you don't want to use them when there's no herbs in it, which is why you didn't see me actually grind. And what you're seeing here is Pepper. Say hi, Pepper. He decided to jump in my lap. His purring is probably a distraction, but yeah, they can be tedious. It's really good if you're not making large batches, like if you're just doing it for yourself or a family member, or to get a batch made for your family. That's a good way to do it. If you're getting ready to make an extract and you don't have it, you don't want to use your blender, you don't want to use your food processor, or you don't have a coffee grinder or whatever, that's a great way to break up the membranes, is a mortar and pestle. Then you would add, put those in your jar and then add your alcohol, to make the tincture or tea or whatever you're making with it. Yeah, he's turned into quite the lover, and he's way too big to be a lap cat, right? At this point, he's gotten massive. So, and he's quite lovable and affectionate and intrusive. He's very intrusive as well. But I rescued him as a kitten. I did a video about it. He knew his name from like day one, and all my followers at the time are what named him and Ginger. Stuck with herb names, of course I did. Pepper and Ginger. So he's about as spicy as Pepper too. If he feels like I'm not giving him enough attention, he'll he'll attack. And So yeah, they're my fur babies. Since my other babies are all grown up. I'm gonna kick him off my lap here in a minute, though. He's too needy. 7:46. So we have any questions about how is Ginger? She's fine. She's in there laying on the bed with Morpheus. They snuggle a lot, and she is not a lap cat. Like she don't like to get in my lap at all. And Pepper, on the other hand, doesn't seem to mind. In fact, he'll do it whether I want him to or not. He's he's quite needy. But all right, go. Don't you talk back to me. So there, that noise is gone too. He's coming back under the desk. I'm not gonna pet you. He wants me to feed him, is what he wants. And I no, he's already been fed today. No, you can use a blender. A blender works okay. Coffee grinder. Here's the problem though: if you do a lot of herbs with your blender and you don't clean it well enough, the little silicone ring that sits at the bottom will inevitably draw in the aroma of the herbs you're using. So if you did something like valerian root, which smells like dirty socks, or you do something, quit. No, you do something that has a strong aroma, chaparral or a strong taste, that will translate to your food. So so you could go to the dollar store or whatever and pick up a cheap blender if you're going to do like small projects for you and do them here and there, and then just use that and keep it separate from your food. Because I trust me, I've been doing this for 30 years. I will tell you, it doesn't matter what you use, it doesn't matter what you do, that aroma is going to translate into your hardware. So it's just a thing. Since we have a few more minutes, um, we could talk a little bit about. I am new to the health journey. Doctor doesn't help with my Hashimoto's. I've done videos on Hashimoto's, and do you are you on Instagram, Bridget? Do you do any Instagram stuff? Quit! I am not going to pet you because there's a thyroid doctor over there. Um, that is really good. She addresses Hashimoto's and a lot of other stuff. She's Dr. Emily Lipinski, I believe. Her name is Dr. Emily. Yeah, she's only on Instagram as far as I know. Her name is Dr. Emily Lipinski. Let's see if I can pull her up. I I helped her once from 3,000 miles away. I was really impressed with myself. She's from Canada, but she's really knowledgeable. Let's see. Let me pull her up real quick. Don't you even think about it. Mm, there she is. It's Dr. Lipinski. It's her right here. There. Dr. Lipinski, Emily Lipinski. See? Right there. It says it right there in the title, Hashimoto's. So I know we talked about when making tea to not use boiling water, but for ginger root. Okay, so here's the general rule of thumb. Okay, so here's the question. So I know you talked about when making tea. He's up there doing this with my hand. Um, to not use boiling water. Never boil water to make tea. You're very welcome. She's really awesome. I like Dr. Lipinski. Um, okay, so I talked about making tea not to use boiling water, but for ginger root, cover lid and cook for how long? Okay, so the general rule of thumb when you're making a tea, depending on your medium, okay. So if you're using the aerial parts for the most part, so if you're using the leaves, if the stems aren't very woody, so if you're not using the stems from a tree, um, the leaves, the stems, the flowers, 3 to 5 minutes. And how you heat your water is really relevant when you're making a tea. And I've done videos on this. It sounds, people go, it can't be that complicated. You gotta, it is a little bit. I mean, you gotta think about it a little bit. First, you can't use your microwave. Never use a microwave to make tea. The microwaves scramble the molecules, and they actually neutralize the effectiveness of the compounds. They eliminate the compounds. So you're just drinking flavored water essentially for the most part. You never want to boil your water, right? Because each herb has what's called essential and volatile oils in it, and they evaporate at 177 degrees. Okay. So if you keep your water hot, about 170 degrees, which is roughly about what your coffee pot is going to do. Okay, your coffee pot's going to be roughly that hot. Um, then you're not going to lose those volatile and the essential oils. There'll still be some in the tea itself, right? You can smell it in the air. Those are actually particles and some of the essential oils getting out, but not all of them. Not all of them are going to go. More of them are going to stay in the herb and in where you want them versus being evaporated out. Okay. When it comes to roots, your barks, the wood, anything hard, the berries, anything that's going to be hard or have a harder surface, the seeds, these ones you're going to let sit 8 to 10 minutes, but you're going to do the same process, right? You're still only going to keep it at 100 and whatever, 170 degrees, give or take, and then you're going to let it set for 8 to 10 minutes. This is going to, because the membranes that are inside the harder substances are going to be tighter, right? I mean, it's harder. You can rip a leaf, but sometimes it's kind of hard to rip a piece of wood, right? So you let it sit longer, it's going to help to loosen those up and make them more available. But you don't need it longer than 8 to 10 minutes. Just let it sit in there for 8 to 10 minutes. It'll soften it up enough, especially if you make sure to grind it really fine. If you've got really big chunks, right, obviously you're going to need to let it sit longer. It's going to have to sit for a while. But if you break them down to smaller, manageable chunks, I can show you what I mean by that. If you have a root, here's some dandelion root. If you have a root, you see how fine those are? If it'll, there it goes. You see how fine those are? So your ginger root shouldn't be bigger than that. These are about the size of a BB, and a lot more of the surface area. They're going to be a lot easier to extract those properties out by only doing a limited amount of time. And if you have a tea bag, wouldn't be a bad idea to throw that in the blender and grind that up even finer anyway, right? And then still do the 8 to 10 minutes, and you'll get even more of the compounds out. So, and when you're storing your herbs, it really is better to store them as whole as possible. The downside to that, you hear how hard that is, right? You get a root that's that thick, that's going to be a pain in the butt to try to break up into smaller pieces. So with like dandelion root, those pieces that are there started out quarter inch or bigger before they started drying them. They'll lose more than half their size or twice their size, whatever. They're going to shrink really small comparatively. So, you know, there's really quite a bit there. If you think about it logically, just really dehydrated. Well, dang, I've been doing it wrong. I sliced in and boiled it for 10 minutes. No, you still got some of the compounds. You just lost a lot of the essential oil. But I mean, a lot of the other compounds were in there. Gingerol was still in there. Some of it. It happens. This is a learning curve too. A lot of people aren't really taught how to make a tea. Sounds pretty simple, right? You notice the English, they don't boil their tea. They get their water hot. They put the tea leaves in the water. Sometimes they use a tea ball. They don't use tea bags though. Sometimes they use a tea ball. Sometimes they just leave it in there and just leave it there. It just sits. They drink their tea around the leaf. Um, but the leaves are whole, so the leaves will be really long. And but they pour the water over that and let it sit for a few minutes, and that's their tea. So, trying to see if there's any other questions. We're gonna be cutting it off here in just a bit. I know I meandered a bit tonight, but I managed to get the topic out without getting too distracted. We went on to other stuff after I finished the topic at hand. See how that works? I'm getting better, kind of. Now I have a better camera. Looks like it'll be easier for me to get more people in here. So that might help too. How about white pine needles for tea? Yeah, white pine. White pine's one of the best antiviral herbs in the world. Um, some yellow pines too. Very few yellow pines are actually bad for you. The red pines aren't necessarily good. There's a couple, but like your ponderosa pines aren't good. The yew tree, which isn't even a pine, that one's not good. There's a few, but for the most part, most pine is good for you. There's very few of them that have some more toxic compounds in it. So that's a misconception. Not all yellow pine is bad. So, however, if you don't know the difference, don't tinker with it. Stick with white pine, until you learn the difference. What about eastern pine? As long as it's a white pine, again, you'd have to look it up for locally in your area. Make sure you have the specific species of pine. There's various species, and I don't have the whole list on me right now. So I know ponderosa is the biggest one. The yew tree, it keeps being misconstrued as a pine. It's not even close to a pine. But all the spruces are pines, and they're all good. Any of the spruce trees are good. So, and they have all the same compound. They're almost exactly the same thing as pine as far as medicinal goes. So the spruce are going to have the short, real prickly pine needles, and those are actually kind of easier to harvest, to be fair, because you cut off the limb, and once it kind of you can just let it dry on the limb. Like what I typically do is I'll cut off it. Like we had some pines that or some spruces that the wind had torn a bunch of the limbs off of, and I just cut those limbs up into smaller pieces, put them in a dehydrator box that I had, and after a few days you just kind of shake it and all the needles just fall off. So that's like one of the easiest ones to harvest. The downside to harvesting pine is they don't, you can take the leaves, but if you start taking limbs and stuff, those things don't grow back on pines. So it'll lose that forever. But if you get the leaves will come back. Can't make it fresh. You can. You can still make it fresh. Actually, in some cases, fresh would probably be better. A lot of the shikimic acid is going to be a little bit more concentrated, but it's going to be messy. It could be potentially messy. Those pine needles can get kind of sticky. But if you take the pine needles and then you cut them up, right? You like, take scissors or a knife or whatever. Scissors will probably work better. Cut them up before you put them in your tea, and then you make your tea. That those compounds are going to escape out into the water, and I don't know. It might be good. I don't think I can handle drinking it. I'm not a huge fan of. I like the smell of pine, but I don't like the taste. So I'm actually getting ready to make an antiviral blend that'll be posting up over on Patreon. I give you guys my blend for antiviral and how I made it. I'm going to turn it into a tincture. The downside to it is I can't sell it on Etsy. Etsy won't let me sell it because the title is antiviral, antiviral drops. So eBay doesn't care. eBay will let me sell it, but Etsy will not. So for those of you who um, do buy from me, I do have an eBay store now too, and the link is in my link tree. If you go to my bio, it shows my links, and you go to the link tree, it shows all my other social media. You can go there and either follow me over on those places, or you can check out my merch store is a little slow right now. Give me a little bit of time. I'm going to spend some time and get my merchandise put together. I have a lot of ideas that I want to do, some shirts and hats and cups and stuff. So um, that's what I have. This camera is not bad. I mean, it's not the best camera I've ever had, but it's much better than my phone. This will actually record videos in a better format than my phone. So some of my videos that I'll do, like maybe some of the longer videos I'll do just here, because if I try to post them over on TikTok or Instagram, it'll be the full screen with that little wedge or that little section in the middle. So, I mean, I don't know that I like that. We'll see. Maybe I'll try one like that and see what happens. Anybody have any questions? We're getting close. Do you know the Latin name for moringa? Moringa. Moringa oleifera. That is the name. Yeah, that was that's one of those few that I'm pretty sure I could be wrong, but I'm not. Let's see. Botanical name Moringa oleifera.
According to ScienceDirect.com, the Moringa oleifera is also known by its regional names, including horseradish tree,
There it is.
drumstick tree,
That's its Latin name.
tree, Keller
So
tree,
it is the same thing.
tree,
Tribulus
tree,
terrestris. Oh, shut up.
tree,
Tribulus terrestris is similar to that. There's a few. There's a few where the botanical name is the same. Tribulus works so well that they can't even be bothered. Bacopa moneri is another one. They don't have any real common names. I'm sure they do where they come from, right? But they don't have any common names where they sell them on the market. Yeah, there's, you know, Bacopa. I should probably do a video on Bacopa. That's a pretty amazing plant. Has anybody ever heard of Bacopa monnieri? Anybody? I know probably one or two of you guys are kind of herb people. Think I should do a video on moringa? Because, have you guys been catching my kitchen combat series? Because the next one's going to be heavy metal cleanse. So I'm thinking about doing another series similar to that. Yeah, Bacopa's is an adaptogen. Tribulus terrestris is also an adaptogen. And that one's amazing. Tribulus, like if you work out, you do MMA, you do physical contact sports, or if you're really physical all the time, Tribulus is one of those that builds your body up after you've worked. Like it works on your body as far as like strengthening and helping you to recover faster. I think that one mixed with eleuthera root and schisandra berry would be pretty amazing. That would be an amazing blend. I can only imagine if you're an athlete, that would be the blend to take. That would certainly give you a competitive edge because that would put your body more at a prime. Bacopa, it's a plant, it's a leaf, and it's an adaptogen. It's really amazing for the body. It's super potent as far as like antioxidants go, so it really removes a lot of that crap out of your body. Um, Works on your immune system. It just works like a general body tonic. Like it makes your whole body work better. I mean, this stuff is pretty amazing. So yeah, I like it. I'll do a video on it, and then I'll let you see. We'll get the key points and blah blah blah, all that stuff. So let's see. We got this week. I want to hopefully get it done this week. We're gonna do healthcare is your friend, your healthcare provider. So your insurance company is your friend, and there's all sorts of ways they help you guys. You guys just don't give them a fair chance. To be fair, because big pharma has your back, and the FDA has your back. So obviously the medical insurance companies have your back too. Talk about all the different ways they save you money. Yeah, it'd be great. Some people don't get my sarcasm, because I don't really have one of those faces that necessarily expresses sarcasm well. And I have a kind of a dry tone. I realize that, but I have kind of a dry tone. But sarcasm is my life, and sometimes it's kind of hard not to be sarcastic when it comes to stuff like that. Because if I come right out and say how terrible they all are, then it actually hurts the algorithm. And you know, I noticed what YouTube did to me. They sent me a survey, and I told them how terrible it was that they suppressed my information, and then all of a sudden I went from getting like 30 views to 300 views like overnight, like the day after I sent it. So I was like, mm-hmm. Good thing you weren't suppressing anything. I tried fermenting the skin of a pineapple. Hmm. Well, right now I'm doing strawberries, but I decided that I'm doing it for a different reason. I'm just trying to see if it'll work. I don't know that it'll even work. It might be awful. But I took a bunch of strawberries. I have them in a half-gallon jar right now, and I'm going to try to make strawberry beer. Because those apples, the apple cider smelled amazing, right? And it's nearly done. It still smells kind of like apple beer a little bit, but that cider smell is really starting to come through. And then I found out something, right? I found out with the apple cider, there was a little bit of stuff that was growing on the top, and initially I was kind of freaked out about it, and then I got to thinking about it. It's like, wait a second, that's the mother. That's the mother trying to form on the top of the apple cider, and then it gets down, and that's the bacteria forming. Because I was like, oh no, and I panicked, and I opened up the lid and I smelled, and it smelled just like apple beer. Right, and I looked at it closely, and it's like, okay, that's not mold. And then a couple days later, most of it fell like into the cider, and so I'm probably going to do a video on that this week. My because remember we had to wait 3 more weeks for it to be done. So if I do one this week, it'll be about a week and a half into that 3 week wait, and I'll point out what I noticed about the mother and the fact that obviously I wanted to check it and make sure that it wasn't mold. It wasn't mold. It was actually just the mother growing. That was the mother for the bacteria. So the next time I go to make apple cider, when I go to pour that water in, I'm going to take a tablespoon of my cider and put into that, which will speed up that fermentation process because it's already fermented, right? So it'll speed that up, and then you can just keep it going because you've started it with the same mother. And in theory, that bacteria will remain the same, and you're going to be less likely to get a bacteria that you don't want, right? Because you've already got one started. So that's where I'm at right now. And luckily, I have one of my patrons. He is a fermenter, and he has stepped in a few times to give me some, tips. He said, so far so good. I've done everything right. So I've never made apple cider before. I've made sauerkraut, I've made pickled beets, but I've never made actual apple cider. So now I'm really excited. But it's not nearly as yellow as it should be. Like I was thinking it should be a lot more yellow than it is, but I don't know if they add caramel color, if they do something different, why there didn't why the commercial looks so brown. Mine's more like a, maybe I didn't use enough apples. I don't know. Get enough apples and jam them down in there. I don't know. I don't know what happened, but I tried fermenting. Okay. Does anybody have any questions on what we talked about tonight, or any random questions? I asked quick because I'm about ready to call it a night. I'm not trying to ignore you. I'm reading for comments. If most of you are on your phone, actually, I'm on my computer now, so I can get in there and chat fairly easily. So luckily, from here on out, it won't be on a phone. It'll be on this camera, as long as it lasts. Anyway. Anybody? Any questions at all of any kind? So Tuesday will probably be how to make pickled beets. At least the first part of it. I don't. Thank you, Teresa. You too. Um, it'll be like I did with the apple cider. Make pickled beets, and then another week and a half to go. Oh, she's waiting for the workshop. So the workshop will be going. I may end up having to put it on my credit card. I don't really want to put $300 on my credit card, but I don't want to miss out on the live. And look at it this way: if I start doing more lives for people who pay, then in theory, if they like the information that much, more people will pay. So because obviously these platforms aren't going to until I can figure out their little trick. But yeah, that's where we're at. Do I grow everything I process? Oh hell no. I don't have time for that. Not now. I have a full-time job, and then I'm writing a book. Now I'm working on a coursework, and then I do all these videos. I would never have time to do all that. If I had enough patrons that, they were able to supplement my actual income, that'd be different. But at this point, I get $144 a month. So, that's not enough to live on. It's not going to pay any of my bills. Maybe my water bill, but you know, what was the name of the what was the name of the lead that I used for the apple cider? Lid? The lid? Is that what you meant? What was the name of the lid that I used? I get the ball fermenting jar kit on Amazon. I'm actually getting ready to be a Amazon influencer because they accepted my application. I have my own little Amazon blah 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 over there. Um, but I'm going to that'll be one of the things that I'll connect to is that because I mean it's only like $12, and if enough people like the video, um, then I mean I'd probably make like 10 cents, 20 cents, whatever, but enough people get it, it'd be worth it. Right. TikTok doesn't pay me. They did on the lives, but only if I made, I had to have over $10 a month. And there was one month that I think I made during the lives, um, total for the month. There was 5 lives that month, and I think I made $1.32 or something off the gifts. It was like, okay, this is clearly not where though I appreciated the gifts, TikTok kept that $1.32. So, because I didn't make $10. If you don't make more than $10 throughout the month, they just take all of it. So, that's unfortunately how that works. So even though I got gifts, I wasn't getting paid for those gifts. Lovely part of being a creator. Instagram doesn't do any type of monetization at all. YouTube does, but you got to get millions of views. And of course, if they suppress your content, I have 4,000 viewers, but 4,000 people certainly don't get to see my videos. So, if they suppress your views, then that kind of limits the amount of watch hours you're going to get, right? Because they're already not pushing your views. So, that is kind of a tangled web they weave. They weave, not we. So we will be cross your fingers in the hopes. I will let all patrons know how it's going to do is I will drop the information on Patreon for the $3 members. I'll probably do it for all members to let everybody know. That way they have an opportunity to upgrade to a $3 membership to get on the workshop. But what the herbal medicine course is actually teaching you how to apply herbal medicine to your life, right? I mean, I can tell you about all these videos, and I've decided that, you know, as far as my video formats go, I'm probably going to stick with that type of format that I do. And if people really want to know the nitty gritty how to, then they can come over to Patreon, you know, because that type of information is not only valuable, but if they try to get it elsewhere, it's expensive. So, you know, $3 a month, that's not very expensive. So that's my thought on it. And at this point, since the platforms won't pay me, somebody, you know, somebody will, and the ones that do are the ones that benefit. So, I mean, it's just simple economics, to be fair. I don't think that's an unreasonable. It is all a game. So, and people who pay you should get better attention. So that's how that works. Mitchell, if you're still here, you need to call me next Saturday. I'm not working next Saturday, but you need to call me next Saturday. And we're going to do that. We're going to do a quick consultation Saturday. If you come back and watch this later, call me Saturday. If you don't, I'll call you Saturday. But yeah, that's what I have. If anybody has any questions, you can also ask it in the comments. And I do read the comments. I can respond back in the comments if you have any questions. But I don't know what we're going to talk about next week. But next Saturday, I will post that the stream is going to be Sunday at 7, and then you'll know. I like that you can use herbs you buy at the grocery store. That's why I did the Kitchen Combat series, is because I part of the issue is I can show you all the herbs in the world, right? And unless they're already a follower or they're already somebody that knows something about herbs, half the herbs I show, they don't know anything about that plant. That's just a plant. However, if I show you cinnamon or garlic, you know, or black pepper, you know what that is, right? Everybody knows what that is. And then, you know, that's how I'm able to draw a better crowd, is by showing things that are familiar. Like typically during seasons when the goldenrod is up or whatever, I'll do a video on the goldenrod or the mullein, because mulleins found all over the United States. And people see it and they go, hey man, I drive by that thing every day. And then I can do that's how I pick up a lot of followers that you can afford, right? You can afford the spices. I sell bulk herbs too on my Etsy and eBay, so I don't just do capsules and things like that. I sell bulk herbs, and as far as bulk herbs go, if you're just buying for your family, you don't need to buy pounds of herbs. It's a lot of herbs just sitting around in your house, taking up space that may never get used. I sell smaller. Sell smaller packages. Do it twice. Like, do 1 ounces. So this is the powder, and then this is another 1 ouncer, but this is a powder of a leaf, or this is a leaf. You can see obviously they're going to be different. One's dense, one's not. Then I do like activated charcoal. This is a bigger one, 4 ounce activated charcoal. So I do bulk herbs. I don't have I don't know, 50, 60 items. And so when people buy herbs, you buy smaller amounts. Something like this, if you're just making a cup of tea a day, that's over a month's worth of tea. You know, if you're only using a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon, with a powder, you're only using a quarter teaspoon to a teaspoon for a cup of water. So, you know, that there's more than 30 days worth in an ounce. And if you buy a pound, you run the risk of, you know, depending on where you store it and how you store it, if you don't store them properly out of the sun, you know, in a jar, in a jar, you know, or at least something that's sealed, that way there's no air to it. If you store them for extended lengths of time, you run the risk of them losing some of their efficacy. So there's that. I will be here on Sundays. Next Sunday night at 7. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I'll probably throw a poll up on Patreon and have the patrons vote, and then they'll be the ones that determine. I see other content providers do that, let their patrons decide. So figure, you know, you guys are the ones paying me. Why don't you decide what we watch? But anybody has any questions, you can ask in the comments. Thanks for watching tonight.